Okay, yeah, in a glass mansion,
He
sure.
does. Glass houses.
And one day, Mark Spector thinks that he's Billy Joel, starts bringing a rock to what he thinks is his mansion with glass. No, it's a dumb
Yeah.
cover joke. I know, corny.
Anyways, going back to what he said
But
about the
anyway,
Moon Knight TV
mhm,
show, I agree with you. Episode 4 made me
mhm.
fall asleep. Like, absolutely fall asleep. I tried to watch it. I tried to. The entire episode of episode 4 made me fall asleep. There was nothing interesting at all about it. I know there's a little bit of a horror sequence with the Egyptian zombie mummy things, and that in
Yeah,
concept is cool, but in execution, in the way they showed it in the TV show, it sucked. It was very boring. It was very dry. They didn't show it. They didn't show the blood and guts because one of the mummy zombie things dissected a human and ripped out his heart and put it into like a vase or something like that. They could have showed it. They didn't show
okay.
it. They just showed little glimpses of it. And at that point,
What is the kid show?
at that point in the show, in episode 4, I just felt like, you know what? I don't care about Mark Spector or Stephen Grant. I don't care about Layla. Why am I watching this? Because at that point, it's like, I don't care if they live or die in this scene. I just want to see something cool happen, and nothing cool happens. There was this.
Why exactly is Moon Knight's costumes turning into different personalities? Stephen Grant gets his own Mr. Knight personality that can barely do anything except for have these. What was it? It's not nunchucks, but
Truncheons.
batons. Yeah,
Truncheons.
basically. What was that?
Truncheons. Yeah,
Truncheons?
truncheons.
Okay, I really don't care because whenever he turns into Mr. Knight, Layla with a pistol is way better than him. He looks pathetic as Mr. Knight. There's no need for that costume, that character to be in the show. Now, when he turns into the other costume, that's from Mark Spector. That dude can throw a bunch of crescent darts and kill a bunch of guys off just in one go, like he's like an Ultimate Alliance. Lunar Eclipse. He literally does almost the same exact finisher, except it's up front in the show, not all around like an Ultimate Alliance where he throws a bunch of
Yeah.
crescent
By the
darts.
way, they're not called
Yeah.
crescent darts in the TV show. They're called crescent blades in the TV show.
I, I give up. I give up. I've got Doctor Strange to watch in half an hour. I give up already. I'm done. No, I'm kidding. I've got a bunch of notes. I'll stay for long.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little scene in episode 4 where Layla has to fight off a zombie, and I cringe at that
Mhm.
scene because in that scene, Layla doesn't have a gun, Layla doesn't have a knife, and she gets dragged away into the darkness by a mummy zombie from her back. She's being dragged by the back into the darkness. She can't see anything. She has no flashlight on her. She has no knife, no gun, and you think she died. You think she's dead because you don't see anything. But then she comes out and fights the zombie off and wins. And I'm like, that can't have happened in real life. If this was trying to be realistic, she would have died there. Just give her a gun if you want her to live and fight the zombie. I would be okay with that. But she didn't have a gun on her. She just somehow fight off the zombie. And I was like, no, that's not how. That's not how you do it. She would be dead.
I'm better than the main character who's a man. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exactly like
this
that.
is
That winning
MCU.
theme
Like,
song.
so many people are like, oh, this is not MCU. Nah, nah. Layla, episode 4, come on, people. And even with Kevin Feige, like I mentioned before, Kevin Feige wanted a female superhero in the Moon Knight show no matter what. It could have been Echo or it could have been Scarlet Scarab, and in the end, Scarlet Scarab got in. But he wanted a female superhero to overpower Moon Knight no matter what in the show. That was the plan all
Yeah.
along in the Moon Knight show. So, it's not very good. It's kind of generic and bland, this TV show. But let's go episode by episode. Episode 1. What were your thoughts and opinions on episode 1? I think it was the best episode out of all of them, episode 1.
I don't understand the way you think sometimes, Ram. The best episode when you find out he's poor and works at a gift shop. Somehow he can afford rent at a gift shop. Okay. What is he? Is he on disability? Is he on welfare? What's going on?
No,
Is he using a bunch of food stamps?
no, it's implied that his mom is giving him money, but in
Hmm.
contrast, in reality with this, it's actually Mark Spector's money he's using to live in that little apartment. But he,
Yeah, I
what
was just thinking that it's like Warren Ellis's run. He's just in a poor area but using Frank Spector's money.
Well,
Yeah,
he's okay. So I should explain the
yeah,
Warren Ellis thing. So in the Warren Ellis comic books, he in the first few issues he's living in a mansion, but then over time the mansion blows up and he has to go into hiding because people know who Mark Spector is now. They know who Stephen Grant is. He cannot be out in public. So instead of living in a new mansion or an apartment, he moves to an abandoned hospital building. Well, there's
where
ghosts and stuff.
a
Yeah, a
hospital
hospital
building.
building. Well, there's ghosts and stuff,
Yeah.
and that's where he lives. But he
So
was living in a mansion in the first few issues. But then it blows up, which actually happens a few times in the comic books. His mansion blew up like 6 times in the comic books.
you'll have to excuse me because I went into the Warren Ellis run at about issue 6, so I got into it right when he was in the abandoned
Yeah,
hospital.
I understand.
He's living with ghosts in that series, not a goldfish in the
Yeah,
show.
there's no comic book that
Oh no.
has him with a pet goldfish. There was a comic book where he has a pet dog in the Fist of Khonshu comic books, but it's not his dog. It's Marlene's ex-husband's dog.
So does it like fight off
Nah,
bugs?
it's just a dog that's all white. I think it's like a white husky breed dog. But
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Okay.
So episode 1, what were your thoughts and opinions? You think it was good, or you just no?
It was bleh.
As a TV show,
Yeah.
I think it was really good. Episode 1 is the best episode as a TV show. But then if I'm talking about like a Moon Knight show, I would not have done
Hmm?
this for episode 1. But it was a pretty good way to open the show for people who want a good show. They don't care about Moon Knight. This is a good way to open the
Yeah.
show as a show, not as a Moon Knight show. But a few problems with the show, because you didn't mention this. There's a problem with the show where Arthur O'Hara goes to the museum and confronts Stephen Grant in the museum and threatens his life. He's like, okay, if you are not if you're like an evil person, because I'm gonna balance you with my tattoo, this tattoo that can tell if you're good or evil. I'm gonna balance you, and if you're good, I'll let you go. But if you're bad, I'm gonna kill you. And then he balances Stephen Grant, and there's chaos in him. It's not balance. So then everyone in the museum is working for Arthur O'Hara. They all have the tattoo. They're all evil, is what I'm saying. And Stephen Grant, instead of running away and try to find the cops or something like that, he instead goes to the back of the museum and continues walking at the museum until midnight. And it was daytime.
Okay.
So picture this: an evil guy just told you he's gonna kill you, and everyone in the museum is walking with him, and they have guns, and they're drawn at you. They're gonna kill you. But instead of running away, instead of calling the cops, you just go to the back and continue walking at the museum until midnight. And that's 1 p.m. You're confronted by the guy. So from 1 p.m. to midnight, you're walking the museum with a guy who's threatening you with a gun. Instead of running away, you just continue walking there. That's what happens in this
What?
episode. It's so stupid.
You mean you never been threatened by a knife or a gun before and then went back to
Yeah.
work? I go through that all the time.
Why run away when you could just continue working at a minimum wage job, you know?
Well, I do get paid here, so if I get stabbed, I can just do workers' comp and live at home. So yeah, it'll work out.
Yeah.
Come and stab me, manager. Huh. And by the way, yeah, Stephen Grant is a vegan in the show. Was he ever a vegan in the comics, Ram?
No. So the thing with Stephen Grant is that he's a playboy millionaire in the comic books. He's a persona that's supposed to like clean Mark Spector's money, because Mark Spector's money is made from his mercenary career where he's killing innocent people and children and some evil people who deserve it too in the bag. And he's making that money doing that, so of course he cannot cash in that money just willy-nilly. He has to have a persona, a disguise, to clean that money for him. So he creates Stephen Grant as that disguise to clean his dirty money. It's a money laundering scheme, if you would. So Stephen Grant cleans the money
Hmm.
for him, and he's the rich persona, as you would. And he's like this tough guy because he does train Marlene in the comic books to fight crime. It's not Mark Spector doing it. It's not Jake Lockley. It's the Stephen Grant disguise who trained Marlene to fight in the comic books.
In bed, he trains her in bed. That's what everyone who's a normie would say. Oh, I'm a normie. You
Yeah.
got me. Yep, they train right in the pool area. They go back and forth between the pool and getting out of it when they're training.
But with that said, I don't think there's a comic book with Stephen Grant as the main persona in the Moon Knight comic book. I mean, in the Moon Knight costume, because there's comic books of Mark Spector in the Moon Knight costume. There's comic books of the Jake Lockley disguise or persona in the Moon Knight costume. I don't think there's any comic book with Stephen Grant in the Moon Knight costume. Maybe Fist of Khonshu. I might
Okay.
have misremembered. Maybe Fist of Khonshu might have done that, but I don't know.
I doubt it.
But yeah, so Arthur Harrow, what do you think about him as a villain, Arthur Harrow?
Oh, I already said all I had to mainly say
So he's
beforehand.
just a very boring
He's a
villain.
passive aggressive
Yeah,
villain.
passive aggressive,
What?
boring villain.
Mm-hmm. He will use words against you if you treat him as a friend. He will most likely not treat you as a friend back unless you're just a pawn to
Yeah.
him. Basically, everyone is a pawn for him, and his god Anubis. I think that is what she is. Who is very very sexy. I would marry. Yes, I love
Crocodiles? Crocodile?
animals. Sorry about that.
So, yeah, her name is like Amit, not Anubis, or whatever you said. It's Amit.
Oh, it wasn't. It
Yeah, it
was
was
a Mitch.
Amit.
Okay, yeah. You see how
You
bored
gotta
I am of
admit,
this
she's
show. I'm just
sexy.
so
It's a
forgetful.
sexy crocodile lady thing.
You freaking corny guy. Go eat some corn. Oh, 2 puns.